triple live stream. I suppose it used to be more common with me, like maybe like 2 years ago, and then eventually it kind of died down as I got busier. The world got slower. Just gonna let this guy go. The world got slower, and things that were more worldly became less relevant to me, and therefore I was shifting where I was getting my ideas from so dramatically, that I naturally had to, stop for a while and reevaluate what I was talking about, right? Because eventually, the world got off my back from where it was. When I had done things like first got myself back into the workforce at a time that people still were trying very hard to force you uh, to inoculate yourself. Um, and so a great deal of things all revolved around that as a central narrative, as the world had wanted to wrap itself around the needle like it was its new axis mundi. And so I fought for that to be at an end in my world, and it did, but it still rode your nervous system for a while, right? Because it would stop happening to you, but because it had just been recently happening, and you don't know if it's just you or if the world had changed, but the presence of it had disappeared. And you could then see that, there's been some sort of a sea change. There's been, the spirit of this monster has kind of receded. It never concedes its argument. It just gives up on continuing to try. And then who knows what's going on. I can say my name. Thank you for asking me if I had the ability to use my tongue and my voice and enunciate vowels and consonants in a coherent fashion of self-identification. I can say my name. I'm not going to. You can listen to more of my channel and you can hear my name pronounced. How about that? Or maybe I'll say it later for no reason of your own. I may say it for other reasons, like promoting myself. But I can say my name. What up, Wet? I don't know about Wet over here. Wet sounds like they're interested in nothing but lust for money. I don't know, man. Wet? What kind of fucking name is Wet? With little hearts on it. Anyway. What am I live for? I felt like talking a pinch about cults, right? Cults. In the sense that I think that we're now going to start calling everything a cult because we're not used to this kind of media-based organization of social structures, right? And so we're now calling things that we're doing online that we used to just do in real life, which is often that the most charismatic among people that you know kind of is the reason why you're all together. And thus, because you like that togetherness, that charismatic guy that, you know, brings you all together, you know, you kind of more interested in being agreeable with them or not. And then from any outside group, it almost looks like, you know, like they just know who the fucking leader is. Well, ultimately, you're just trying to say, this is my friend, and you know, there's not much else, you know, going on other than how you're organizing the common interests that are bringing you together in the first place, whether it be just for your company's own sake, or because you're all there for study group or something fun like that, right? And so, of course, now we're seeing things happening on like YouTube and other aspects of social media where someone like me can just do my thing. And if someone like me is doing my thing and my thing involves shit that society doesn't agree with, that I am hunting for agreement for, I'd like to find people who agree with me. You know, then I find my grouping of great people that agree. Well, not that they agree with me, but that they agree that we should be talking about this. They would agree that I'm asking the right questions. These agreements, right? This is the real agreement. The agreement of, are we talking about what matters? Are we asking the right questions? That's the agreement that matters to me, right? So I don't care, you know, like they're calling all sorts of people a cult, and I think that we're a little sensitive to it. You know, people want to say Dr. Hillman is starting a cult. You know, people want to say that, you know, that Sethic Esposa is starting a cult. You know, everybody that looks at it, right? Anytime they look at it and somebody is kind of talking their own language, right? Because vernacular has been established. Now that we have vernacular, we're a cult. Sure, I mean, yeah, why not? Then cults aren't such a bad thing because, you know, back in the day, I was in the cult of Ace Ventura, the Jim Carrey cult, the JC. Yeah, you know, Ace Ventura came out, me and every motherfucker I knew just came out of that theater fucking, you know, having the joys of life with big goofy smiling, all right, and trying to fucking stretch our faces out like rubber bands, you know, it's just like he was a fucking a physical comedy fucking hero, right? You know, and Jim Carrey, you know, gave performances of the ages. I've never seen a man act his way out of a rhinoceros's asshole before. It's one of the greatest fucking scenes in cinema comedy ever, is birthing your ass out of an animatronic fucking rhino. It's the best. That's the fucking best shit, right? So, cult of Jim Carrey. It's just like, you know, do you want to be around the guy that part of his personality is acting a little bit like Jim Carrey, right? Which is what makes a movie like Cable Guy so, like, Through the Looking Glass, is Jim Carrey playing the part of someone who has no personality, but has derived his personality from the structure of various different kinds of TV and movie characters, so that way he has something in which to convey his thoughts and ideas. Because he says, like, people don't really understand me because I don't understand me, but I understand the guy who loves all these things, like this character, like I understand fishing from the Eddie Griffith show or whatever, like there was like all that fishing, son and dad fishing kind of thing, I think was in the fucking opening credits or whatever. But my point is that like, you've got a life lesson and you gotta put on the Eddie Griffith show bit in order to convey that life lesson. You don't have your own words for it, right? And so when all these different guys that have that individuated passion, for something, have gone like deep into an important aspect of study and has a conviction towards a purpose to what they're doing that is a little bit more than knowledge for knowledge's sake, and activity for fun's sake, right? This gets people on edge with things they don't understand, because people have certain fundamental assumptions about what's good in the world and what things are archetypes of good in the world, and then you take a pillar of an archetype of a good that you've believed in and you fucking challenge the interpretation of the symbolism that you've come to say means one thing, and then you're asking yourself, how much do we are we married to that, and why are we married to that? How does your entire state of being, your Dasein, as Heidegger would put it, unfolds and manifests, and does it have the integrity to stand against another person's, right? Is it a cult? Is it a cult if everybody ideologically is with it? Is it a cult even if its conclusions come from proper knowledge and wisdom? Is it a cult if it asks for and somehow demonstrates accountability towards those outside of itself? Right? I mean, like, if we're worried that, like, look, dude, like, I bet he's doing some weird shit on Patreon that's behind paywall, or what's going on in that private Discord server. It's just like, this is a cult, then everybody's in a cult. The Y-Files is in a cult. And fucking every band that's got a channel and a fucking fan page is a cult. Yeah. And every church is fucking different. There's no universality. Every fucking church is fucking telling me a different goddamn Jesus story. So, you tell me what you fucking know about cults on that level. And obviously, you are going to have a front. Well, if you're going to have a front, then what's not a front? Is the only thing that's good in the world is if nobody gets to have private organizations wrapped around their ideas and things, right? We worry about, what could be criminal or criminal supporting as an organization. This is all over the place. There's major corporations that endorse major organizations that have for years been getting away with crimes that you can viably prove through proper conspiracy research, following money trails and looking at the leads of other fucking tertiary circumstances of foul play, right? It's not about, like, there's one thing to invent a conspiracy to pin on somebody. It's another thing to know that a crime has been committed that is a mystery, and the further yeah, all right, so there we go. That hiccuped for a second. Let me know if I'd cut out, because my point was a conspiracy of perpetrators is what you might be coming to suspect through a scientific investigation based. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. You know, this isn't surprising to me just because it's probably a lot of traffic on the internet right now, so probably having more connection issue would make trying to hold that flow state together. These little bits and pieces are not the most important things in the world to miss, so don't worry too much about it. But you know, if you truly want to cross-examine the world, it's just like, look at things that aren't picking up any alarms on your radar, especially if they aren't things, Y and Z things, but they won't talk about the subject matter that is giving them the tell that there's anything to be suspicious of about who they are as a group, other than, well, they've done some stuff that I would call hazing and yada yada yada. Right? I mean, like, technically every fraternity and every sorority in college is a fucking cult for having these traits manifest with the hazing. I mean, like you know, let's not all fucking, we all fucking know about Bonesman and all that shit, right? You know, those are some of the really fucking serious ones. And who knows exactly how fucking knowledgeable these fucking college initiated fucking elites really are in that respect. Yeah, you missed a tiny bit. I'm kind of the way I'm talking, you'll be able to kind of get the gist of it, because it's really hard for me to stop and hold the thought on that level, because I also have to pay attention to the road, pay attention to when the buffering screen stops spinning. So you know, don't you worry, and you can always say, well, you got cut off at, and then just, you know, like, tell me the sentence that got cut off, and I could probably finish that sentence for you and possibly be right back on track from that thought. But right, we're living, we're living in an age where, like, all sorts of people want to use these open forums where an idea of a certain knowledge that they spent a great deal of time invested in, they found a platform to put it out there for what they got into doing this stuff for, right? You know, to tell the world about a truth they discovered that is universally helpful towards what is going on now, or various problems that have been ongoing that you've wanted to solve, right? And here's some knowledge that can bring you to solutions of things, so on and so forth, right? Because some people are very hungry for that, right? You know, exercise, you know, which is something that just a friend of mine became kind of like my trainer. We did that. He pushed me on that, you know, just as a one-on-one training partner thing, right? And so there's nothing to it in that respect, right? But now in this online universe, you know, people are connecting, and they're in these social media networks and everything else, and it's just like if you're gonna be a nefarious cult, you need to be capable of physically isolating a person. Like, you know, like lieutenants, you know, it's just like, if it's all digital, you don't fucking have like a lieutenant. That's the same thing as Susie Q over here as my moderator, right? These are just people that I've built rapport with and have, you know, and they've earned my trust when it comes to just something as simple as a YouTube wrench, right? Just kind of the nature of the kinds of people that I will meet along my path of coming online. And it's good to see a handful of you names in the chat rooms and in the comments sections sometimes, later on, that are grateful for the insights that come out of some of these videos. And that's why I at least do the bare minimum out of the pure joy of it, right? And so if all of a sudden every following me, I wouldn't know what to tell you, right? Like, my attitude doesn't even go for that. I don't even want to me, right? But do. We're in this for, in our common interests. Then there's going to be an organization for that. And you're going to have fucking people with delegated responsibilities to make it work. And the only reason why it's going to work is because you have people that you trust for delegated responsibilities. Like, who gets a wrench in my fucking chat room? Right? And so we get intimidated by people that, like, people get a certain way if they've been doing this a long time, and we're talking to different audiences. It's just like I've known what these guys are talking about before the top new generation came in to dictate a way it wants things to be in the world that becomes part of our co-creative Dasein, right? The part where I have to make adjustments for the new kind of spirit of the dragon in the world, with the little things that pop up, where in some circles they care more about a certain political correctness or not, so on and so forth, right? So every conceivable level of everything, because it's our comfort level of how much we can trust somebody based on what their interests are, because we don't really know anything about all of these people personally, right? But there's no way that unless you're all fucking personally connected to each other, like y'all live in the same fucking county or some shit like that, where you can do like that's why you hear about, like, the cults, the Mormon cults and the other Christian cults and other, and Scientology and all these other different groups. They got like bodies of people in local areas because they don't gather on Zoom fucking calls that are monitored by the government. They gather in a private building where they do their shit, and there's not one fucking active agent, unless they're undercover, that's there. Right? You go to a Christian Science reading room. You go to a Jehovah's Witnesses halls. You go to a church's building of worship, and they're the physical people in the area of it. And you can get yourself involved in that world. And then you can be in a cult if you'd like, because now you're physically involved. You're making serious vows, live and in person. And giving people an impression of who you are, where you want to be, what you want to be a part of. And they're going to treat you according to those vows, which is why I don't vote, because I don't want people to get the impression that I am okay with anything that these people are fucking doing. I will not lie to you and tell you I'm a little bit okay with one guy doing anything that they're saying, right? There might be 90% of what they're doing I agree with, but that 10% I cannot fucking stand. And even if it's nothing, if I let that slide, they let it slide even worse next time. Me voting is throwing away my freedom, right? You want freedom in this country? Don't vote and continue to use your voice, and you'll be free. It won't matter. You using the voice as your vow, that will shape your world. They will give you your corner of your world as long as you are within the honor of natural law and you comprehend the people around you. And you have that inkling, because of natural law, to know the limits of your freedom in that respect. And then you will come to find yourself in awesome company. Agreed. Yes, you vote. Okay, so Susie, you voted. All right. So, you consider the faults in the candidates as acceptable, even though those faults involve going to war under false conditions because they cave to the peer pressure of war lobbyists. You agree with the raids and murders of your pets because your neighbor is a fucking snitch, because both sides support certain aspects of the system that are never going to be separated from each other, that will be there to do it again and again and again, right? You have the tacit endorsement of the idea of taxing people. So you vowed to give the state permission to steal my money. That's what you did. That's what your voting did. I want you to feel a little bit ashamed of yourself for voting today, Susie. Just a little bit ashamed of yourself. Thank you for being part of my problems. Okay? I still love you, but you're a little bit a part of my problems right now, and you need to know that because I care. Because I care on every conceivable level. And you've been listening to me for this long, and you know where I'm at. And then you come brag about your voting. So, you're gonna brag about it, defend it, because your voting tells me that you believe in freedom of speech, just like me not voting means I say I believe in my freedom of speech, and I use my freedom of speech. Grown-ups vote? No. Grown-ups act. Grown-ups take personal responsibility. Grown-ups vote is something they tell children to rob them of their soul. Grown-ups vote. No, they don't. I see a world of man-children. I see a world of terrible babies. They proved that to me in 2020. The kind of monstrous child that they are as a world. And in many ways are as an individual. And they made a vote that I didn't even have a choice in. And I certainly didn't think that my vote in 2016 and my vote in 2018 was going to leave me on the shit floor in 2020 like that. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. That is a fact, sweetheart. That is lived history, lived existence, lived experience. There's no opinion whatsoever in there. My opinion is how I feel about what happened. You can say I am wrong to feel that way, but it is true that voting means that you're A-okay with somebody robbing me. Because if your guy lost that vote, you would have to accept the losses. I don't have to accept the wins or the losses. I just have to accept that I know the way of life that I want to live. That I know the relationship with the government that I want to have. And there's nobody that understands my wants and needs unlike me. You vowed your will to someone who doesn't know you, understand you, like you, respect you, or care about you. You are just another number in the crowd. Communist countries do vote. They do vote. They vote like the way that we have primaries. You can't vote for not a communist. You get the party produces candidates and then the people vote for those candidates. But it's guaranteed that only a communist goes in. Because communism comes from being a monoparty of wealth distribution and state control values. That's the big problem, right? That's all that it is. The nature of what this country is already what it is. The person who wins the vote is just reflecting something that's already been there for a while. And most of it is just designed to pacify you so they can get away with murder. By making 50 fucking things wrong on purpose. Because they only need 3 things to be wrong on purpose, but they need to waste your time with 50 things so that way they can get away with the 3 things they want, and then eventually you'll get the 47 of the things they did wrong back. And they still fucking win because they didn't care about all the rest of the pain that you went through, and you get to celebrate your victory and they get to celebrate their victory, which is the true victory was theirs. And that's what happens. That's what happens when you vote, Susie. That's what happens. There's no winning. There's no winning at all. There's zero value. There's zero value in putting a vow in a ballot box. It's a living lie to make you believe that your way of life could not exist without a central government for everybody living in the American territories. That we would be disinterested without a government in having supply chains, infrastructure, raw materials, engineering, trade skill proficiencies, the desire for certain kinds of meals and comings and goings, and like we just wouldn't be able to function, right? Without something of some sort. And 2020 proved that was a lie too. We functioned just great when you couldn't find a goddamn fucking person in fucking sight anywhere. And nobody was worried that we needed the government for 5 minutes for any of that. The government came later when they started complaining about people that were using their freedom because nobody was telling them that their suggestions were about to turn into mandates, right? So people just thought it was ultimate freedom, and it was for the first 5 minutes that they didn't have control over anybody because it was just a kind of a stay tight, this will be over soon situation that people weren't interested in and wanted to exploit the empty streets, which we all did to a certain degree. Sure. But you're not. You voted today. To say that you're more of an anarchist than the non-voter who... I could vote. I'm not a felon. I haven't even unregistered yet. I just haven't put the calories into doing that, but I didn't vote 2 years ago. Not voting again. This will be the first time I don't vote for president. In 2014, I also didn't vote. And I wasn't going to vote in 2016. But my convictions on the anarchy principle weren't there yet because I didn't believe that things could get worse by the hand of my own neighbor. I did not expect my own neighbor to turn on everybody and myself in such a manner. I didn't think that they were going to break the psyche of America that much and that it was just going to go on with its entertaining bullshit. But they made sure to cause a problem. They made sure to get everybody viscerally upset. And we've arrived at a very interesting place because of it. No, you're still the ballot box. Balls lot box. This is the word games that they play. Baal is the general of the Enforcer Army. And the Enforcer Army are a castrata army, by the way. I don't know if I understood that when I was doing the Holy Mountain breakdown and we get to Neptune. Axon, or whatever the fuck his name is. The fucking, the motherfucker with the fucking police force. The captain of the police, and every fucking recruit has to fucking castrate themselves in their initiations. Right? And that's because when you give those vows, when you put yourself to Baal's lot, you have surrendered your will. Thus, you've surrendered your manpower, your yang. This is all dark sorcery. They use those words on purpose. They use those words on purpose. It all is congruent towards telling their Anu-Draconian mythos of the imposter sky gods, who came to give mankind all this fun stuff, all in exchange for an orderly civilization. But you keep complaining about this thing called freedom, just because, listen, we're not taking your freedom, we're giving you an orderly civilization, right? And you can never be the bad guy if you can't acknowledge you've robbed people of their freedom because of how vehemently you insist that somebody here be a part of your orders. It won't really make a big difference, Susie. This kind of conversation, just like why I was talking about cults in general, like the cult of MAGA, it's just like people don't know Trump and they're fucking sucking his dick. They shook his hand once and they think they can trust him for the rest of their fucking lives. Fucking losers, right? It's got to be face to face. It's got to be in person. It's got to be for real. You have to feel my presence. I have to feel your presence, right? I have to know what it really means to tell you what I tell you. You have to know what it really means to tell me what you're telling me. You have to look me in the face and ask me if it looks right as you're does this sound right when you're looking me in the face? Do you see what I mean? That's important. That's more important than anything. Face to face. I can't take the internet seriously anymore. Right? And I don't have any faith in anybody that's, quote, following me. I'm the worst cult leader in the world. One of my wrenches fucking voted. I'm a terrible cult leader. It's not like I'm taking away your wrench. I don't even want to ostracize you that much. I mean, I just want you to feel a little shame for personal, like, nobody make fun of you or nothing, right? Who knows, right? Or perhaps I've thoroughly insulted you and you can walk out. I don't know. I'm going with authenticity no matter what, because I know who I am. I know what I want around me. And of course, I want a robust debate. But I just want to let you know that your voting made no difference. It's just a way to feel about the results that they selected for you. That's all you're doing, is giving yourself permission to feel something about the results. That's what voting serves, to alleviate your nervous system from the personal responsibility of making the change in the world yourself by standing your ground and speaking your voice directly to the people whom are affecting your world. Everything else is so far beyond us, it would be irresponsible to make any vows unto them. There is not one war that I endorse. There is not one country in which I want to feed their poor, which may indirectly feed their criminal underclass. Like, my hands are clean. My hands are clean of all the corruption that is provably ongoing, because I have made no vow. I have made no vows. I'm taking that word so fucking seriously tonight. It's been all about vowing, 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 voting, vowing all day. Driving that fucking home. Like I'm at the golf course. All right, I'm going to go in and have my dinner. I'm going to catch you guys later.